Their brand-new maid, hired to care for a billionaire's supposedly mute daughter, finds out a terrifying secret. The girl isn't disabled at all. She's being silenced. Now, this ordinary woman has to untangle a web of lies and danger to expose a grim family conspiracy and save the girl from the very people paid to protect her. So how does she pull it off? Before we get into this dark tale, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Ilara's shoes, so worn out they were practically silent, made no sound on the polished marble floors of the Albright estate. Honestly, it felt less like a home and more like a museum. It was vast, cold, and just unnervingly quiet. Every surface gleamed, every piece of art was perfectly placed, and the hallways seemed to stretch on forever. For a woman who desperately needed this job to send money back to her sick mother, all this grandeur should have been intimidating. Instead, it just felt wrong. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like a blanket smothering a scream. Her new boss, Alistair Albright, seemed like he was carved from ice and ambition. He stood with his back to her, a silhouette of power against the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking his perfect gardens. He didn't even turn when she walked in. His voice was a low rumble of authority, the kind that expects nothing but total obedience. He laid out her duties like a surgeon. She was to be the personal maid for his 10-year-old daughter, Lily. He called the girl delicate 3 separate times, as if he was trying to convince himself it was true. He explained that a tragic childhood accident left her with a rare condition that made her completely mute. All communication, he said, had to be done through a tablet the girl carried everywhere, and under no circumstances was she to try and make her speak. It was, he stressed, a source of great pain for the child. Then there was the stepmother, Genevieve Albright. She was as perfect as the mansion itself, a portrait of high society elegance with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She glided into the room and rested her hand on Alistair's arm, a gesture that looked more like she was staking a claim than showing affection. She sized Ilara up with a single glance. "Lily needs consistency, not confusion," Genevieve said, her voice smooth as silk, but with an edge of steel. "You are here to assist her, nothing more." The message was crystal clear: stay in your lane, be invisible, and don't make waves. Ilara was then led upstairs to meet the girl. Lily's room was the size of Ilara's entire apartment, filled with expensive dolls that were never played with and books that were never opened. And there, sitting on a large window seat, was Lily. She was a small, pale girl with wide, watchful eyes that seemed to hold a whole universe of unspoken thoughts. She clutched a sleek tablet to her chest like a shield. When Ilara offered a small, gentle smile, the girl just stared back, her expression unreadable. There was no flicker of childhood joy or curiosity, just a profound, unnerving stillness. The family called it trauma, but Ilara saw something else. She saw a prisoner in a gilded cage, and the silence around her felt less like a medical condition and more like the bars of her cell. For the first few weeks, Ilara played by the rules. She organized Lily's room, prepared her snacks, and sat in silence while the girl tapped out pre-programmed responses on her tablet. "Yes, thank you. I am fine. I do not need anything." But Ilara wasn't just anyone. She noticed things. It was a skill she'd learned from a life of hardship, of having to read people just to survive. And in the Albright mansion, a lot of things didn't add up. She noticed the books in Lily's room. On a high shelf collecting dust were advanced volumes on linguistics and even a beginner's guide to sign language. Their spines were uncracked. It was as if someone had bought the idea of communication, but not the practice. Then there was the way the family treated her. Alistair would pop into the room, pat Lily's head with a stiff, fatherly air, and ask a question he wouldn't even wait for her to answer on the tablet. He spoke at her, not to her. Genevieve was worse. Her affection was a performance for the other staff. She'd smooth Lily's hair, her touch impersonal, her eyes scanning the room as if looking for an audience. It was a pantomime of motherly love, and it was chilling. The story of the accident haunted the mansion's halls. The other staff spoke about it in hushed, fearful tones, but nobody knew the details. All they knew was that it happened 5 years ago. It involved Lily's biological mother, Isabella, and Mr. Albright had forbidden anyone from ever speaking of it. The official story was a car crash that killed Isabella and traumatized Lily into silence. But the fear in the staff's eyes suggested something much darker. The moment that blew the whole facade apart came on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Ilara was dusting figurines in Lily's room, humming a soft tune from her childhood. As she reached for a delicate ballerina, her hand slipped, and it tumbled to the floor, shattering into a dozen pieces. The crash was loud in the silent room, but it was another sound that made Ilara's blood run cold. It was a tiny, sharp intake of breath, a gasp. It was so small she could have imagined it, but she hadn't. She froze, her heart hammering, and slowly turned her head. Lily was staring at the broken pieces, her hands clamped over her mouth, her eyes wide not with surprise but with pure terror. It was the look of someone who had just made a fatal mistake. Before Ilara could say a word, Genevieve swept into the room, her face a mask of fury. Her eyes didn't go to the broken figurine or to the terrified child. They locked right onto Ilara. "What did you do?" she hissed. She strode over to Lily, grabbed her arm, and pushed the tablet back into her hands. "Show me what you were doing," Genevieve commanded, forcing the girl back into her digital prison. The message was brutal and clear. The silence wasn't a condition, it was a rule, and Lily had just broken it. That tiny, terrified gasp changed everything. It wasn't a suspicion anymore, it was a certainty. Lily Albright could make a sound, and she was petrified that she had. The family wasn't just caring for a child with mutism, they were enforcing it. From that moment on, Ilara had a new secret mission. It was no longer just about being a maid, it was about finding out why. She started testing her theory in small, subtle ways. While sorting Lily's laundry, she'd softly hum the rest of that tune from the other day, and she'd see Lily's foot tapping in perfect, unconscious rhythm. When helping Lily with her hair, she would whisper, "This ribbon is the color of the sky today, isn't it?" And she would see a tiny, almost imperceptible nod before the girl caught herself and froze. This wasn't a child who couldn't respond. This was a child who was forbidden to. Ilara knew she first had to earn Lily's trust. She never again pushed the girl to speak. Instead, she built a bridge of silent communication. She'd draw funny pictures on a small notepad, a smiling sun, a clumsy cat, and leave them on Lily's pillow. After a week, she found a drawing left for her, a simple, shaky flower. They developed their own secret language of shared smiles when no one was watching and small, conspiratorial gestures. With this fragile trust established, Ilara started digging into the past. She listened to household gossip, piecing together fragments of conversations. The name that kept coming up was Isabella, Lily's biological mother. The staff who'd been there longer remembered her as vibrant, full of life and fiercely protective of her daughter. Her death, they whispered, had been sudden, shocking, and very convenient for Alistair, who married Genevieve, his former assistant, less than a year later. Her search led her to the mansion's disused east wing. In the back of a dusty library she found it, a small locked mahogany box. It was clearly hidden. For 3 nights, after the house was asleep, Ilara worked on the lock with a bent paperclip and a hairpin. Finally, she heard a faint click. Inside, nestled in velvet, were several leather-bound journals. They belonged to Isabella. With trembling fingers, Ilara opened one. The early entries were happy, detailing her marriage and the birth of her beloved daughter. But as the years passed, the tone grew darker, filled with suspicion and fear. Isabella wrote about finding proof that Alistair's entire billion-dollar empire was built on a massive fraud. The final entries were frantic. Isabella had confronted him. She was planning to leave, take Lily, and go to the authorities. The very last entry, dated the night of the accident, was the most chilling of all. "He knows I'm leaving. He told me I would never take his daughter or his legacy. We are going for a drive to talk, I'm afraid. I've packed a small bag for Lily just in case. He would never hurt her. He wouldn't, would he?" Ilara closed the journal, a cold dread washing over her. The car crash wasn't an accident, it was an execution. And Lily wasn't just traumatized. She was a witness. The words in the journal settled like a tombstone in Ilara's mind. Lily's silence wasn't a shield against trauma. It was a gag, forced on her to hide a horrifying truth. The little girl didn't lose her voice in the crash. She saw her father murder her mother. Every action since, the diagnosis from a crooked doctor, Genevieve's suffocating surveillance, Alistair's coldness, was part of a conspiracy to protect a killer. And suddenly, the grim fate Ilara was supposed to save Lily from became terrifyingly clear. It wasn't just a life of silence. As Lily got older, she'd become a ticking time bomb. What would a man like Alistair do then? Lock her away? Medicate her into a stupor? A man who could kill his wife wouldn't hesitate to eliminate his daughter if she became a threat. Lily wasn't just a prisoner. She was a loose end. The atmosphere in the mansion grew thick with tension. Alistair's powerful presence now felt predatory. Genevieve's polished facade seemed to crackle with nervous energy, and she started watching Ilara with open suspicion. She began a campaign to get her fired, accusing Ilara of misplacing expensive jewelry that then mysteriously reappeared on her own vanity. She reprimanded her for giving Lily a treat that wasn't on the strict dietary plan from the family physician, Dr. Arden. Ilara realized with a jolt that the doctor had to be in on it too. He provided the diagnosis and the mild sedatives that kept Lily perpetually calm and manageable. He was just another jailer in a white coat. Ilara knew she was walking a tightrope. One wrong move and she'd be thrown out, leaving Lily in the hands of her mother's killer. She couldn't run. She had to find a way to get Lily out and expose Alistair for the monster he was. The journals became her secret weapon, a silent plea for justice from beyond the grave. The bond between Ilara and Lily deepened into a silent alliance. One evening, Ilara sat with Lily and took out her notepad. With trembling hands, she drew a picture of a car, a woman with long dark hair like Isabella's and a man with a stern face. She looked at Lily, her eyes asking the question she couldn't speak. Lily watched her, her small face pale. Then, slowly, she reached out, took the pencil, and next to the drawing of the man, she wrote in shaky, unpracticed handwriting a single, horrifying sentence. "Daddy hurt Mommy. He made the car go wrong." The scrawled confession was all the proof Ilara needed. But she knew Alistair Albright was too powerful. He could easily dismiss a child's note as a fantasy. She couldn't just go to the police. She had to detonate the truth in a way Alistair couldn't control, contain, or corrupt. She had to expose him in front of his own world. Then she found it. The perfect opportunity. While cleaning Alistair's study, she saw an invitation for the Albright Foundation's annual charity gala happening at the mansion in less than a week. Hundreds of the city's most influential people would be there. Alistair, the great philanthropist, was set to give a keynote address on legacy and family values. The irony was sickening, but it sparked a terrifying, audacious plan. During his speech, Alistair planned to play a video tribute to his family's charity work. Ilara discovered the video was stored on a local server in a basement security room. Her plan: swap the video. The hardest part was preparing Lily. "They are afraid of your words, Lily," Ilara whispered, holding the girl's small hands. "That's why they took them. But you can take them back. Your mommy would want you to be brave." Hidden from the security cameras, Ilara recorded Lily on her phone. The girl's voice was a fragile, reedy thing, but she spoke the truth. On the night of the gala, the mansion was buzzing with music and flowing champagne. Alistair and Genevieve schmoozed, radiating power. Ilara, a ghost in her maid's uniform, felt her heart hammering against her ribs. An hour in, she slipped away. Thanks to a minor fabricated emergency she'd arranged, the basement guard was gone. She had minutes. With shaking hands, she plugged a USB drive into the server, found the tribute video, and replaced it with her own. She made it back to the ballroom just as Alistair Albright, bathed in a spotlight, stepped up to the podium. He smiled, the picture of benevolence. "My family has always believed," he began, "that our greatest legacy is not what we build, but who we protect." He nodded to the tech booth. "I'd like to share a short video that speaks to that." The lights dimmed. The giant screens flickered to life. But instead of a polished tribute, the image that appeared was a grainy, close-up shot of a small girl's face. It was Lily. A confused murmur rippled through the ballroom. On the screens, Lily's wide, terrified eyes stared out at the crowd. Then she took a shaky breath, and a sound no one in that room, outside of Ilara, had ever heard her make filled the air. Her voice. "My name is Lily Albright," she said, her voice small but clear. "And my father. My father killed my mother, Isabella." Stunned silence. The only sound was Lily's recorded voice continuing to describe what she saw that night. The fight, the doctored breaks, the crash. Then chaos. Gasps turned to shouts. Reporters scrambled, their phones held high. On stage, Alistair Albright was frozen, his face a mask of pure horror. His perfect world had just been reduced to rubble by the one voice he thought he had silenced forever. Genevieve, near the stage, let out a piercing shriek and collapsed. The billionaire's downfall wasn't slow. It was a spectacular public implosion. In the aftermath, the Albright empire came crashing down. Lily's public accusation forced an investigation that money couldn't stop. With Isabella's journals and Lily's testimony, the case against Alistair was airtight. He was arrested for the murder of his wife and the massive fraud his fortune was built on. Genevieve and Dr. Arden were also charged as accomplices. Ilara, the quiet maid who risked everything, became Lily's legal guardian. Using what little untainted money was left, she built a new, simple life for them, far from the cold mansion. A life filled not with silence and fear, but with laughter and warmth. Lily began therapy, and her voice, once a dangerous secret, became her strength, a testament to her own resilience and a memorial to the mother she had finally avenged. It's a powerful reminder that courage can be found in the most unlikely of places, and that sometimes a single whispered truth is all it takes to bring down an empire. What a story, right? If you want to hear more incredible tales like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.